This video will serve as an introduction to one of the publicly available demo environments for the Lenovo Unified Workspace that we call Test Drive. My name is Dan Verwolf. I'm one of the pre-sales engineers here with Lenovo Software. So to get started, we're just going to point our browser to testdrive.stone-ware.com to bring us to the primary login page. Now I'm going to walk through the process of creating a new account, something that you are free to do as well, so that you can see the entire process from start to finish and just how easy it is. So to create a new account, we're going to click the registration button located right underneath the login button. To create a new account, we just need to enter an email address. Any email address will do, and then create a password. After we create an account, we'll be able to use this username and password to log in again from a different browser or a different device. Click Go to create the account and get logged into the environment. You'll notice a couple things will pop up immediately after creating a new account. The first thing is this tutorial overlay that kind of points to the logout button, different workspaces, the tiles, kind of gives you a first glance as to how the workspace works. To make this so that it doesn't appear every time you log in, you can simply click this Don't Show Again checkbox in the lower left-hand corner. And then just single click anywhere on the screen for the overlay to disappear. The next thing that we'll have to do is to install the WebPass extension. This is an extension that's used to allow users to set up their own single sign-on or for implementing single sign-on for applications that IT has set up using the WebPass method. To install the browser extension, just click the Install button in this pop-up, get browser-specific instructions on how to install the WebPass extension. So I'm using Chrome, so I'm getting Chrome-specific instructions, but if you were using Firefox or Internet Explorer, you would get those instructions as well. So I'll just click the Install WebPass button and add that extension to Chrome. Chrome will now automatically download and install that extension for me. Once that's complete, I can simply click on the link to return myself to the workspace. The browser will refresh in order to load all of the new WebPass capabilities into the Unified Workspace experience. So a little bit about the look and feel of the test drive environment. Users will be brought to the test drive workspace, which contains several different tiles which demonstrate different features of the solution that we'll walk through today. Many of these features are accompanied with a video that has been pre-recorded and put in here. It's actually hosted at our YouTube channel so that users can watch these videos and get an up-to-date explanation of how that feature works and what that feature does. Let's start talking about one of the most commonly used resources that users need to access through the Unified Workspace, and that's web-based applications. So this tile here, for instance, this OpenSIS tile, is a web-based application that IT has already set up and assigned to me based on who I am in the directory. So I didn't have to create this as an end user. I didn't have to walk through any setup wizards or anything. This tile is already set up for me, and so when I click it, it's going to just bring me to that web application. And it's also been configured to perform single sign-on. So it's going to use a hard-coded set of credentials to automatically log me in to that application. So you see that goes by pretty quickly. So it went through that login page. It automatically injected a default username and password for me and submitted it through the login button and logged me into this web app. So that's a really simple way to provide end users with access to tens or even hundreds of different web-based applications that they need to do their job. They can all be located in this one unified workspace that again can be accessed from any device and organized in a nice, clean, and easy way. So that's a web application that was delivered by IT, but there are two other methods by which we can get web applications added to our workspace. And another one of those is through the web store. So this little cloud icon here is an access to our web store where there's probably about 400 applications today that we at Lenovo Software have already gone through the work of adding to the web store, configuring for single sign-on, and getting them ready for users to just simply add them and use them. So you'll notice again that tutorial overlay comes up. I can just click this Don't Show Again checkbox to make that disappear. And now I could go ahead and just scroll through this large web store for applications that I want to add to my workspace. So one of the applications we'll use, I'll just search for it. We'll just add Google Drive, a web application that I want that's already been configured for single sign-on that I want to add to my workspace so that I can easily get to it and get logged in from within my workspace. So I'll just click on that Google Drive tile in the web store, read a little bit about it, and click Add to My Tiles. So by adding it to My Tiles, we're actually now in the My Tiles workspace that we saw earlier. So remember, the test drive workspace is where all of that pre-configured resources and video tiles have already been created for us. But then the My Tiles workspace is where we get a little bit more custom activity for ourselves based on my identity. So the things that I add here to this My Tiles will follow my identity around from device to device, browser to browser. So we can see this Google Drive tile that I've just added from the web store. It has a little yellow key on it. That yellow key means that we have the WebPass extension installed and that this tile is configured for automatic login through that WebPass SSO technology. But it's not blue, which means we have not yet told the Unified Workspace what credentials to use to log us into that application. So the first time I click on it, it's simply going to prompt me for my Google Drive username and password. So I can just go ahead and put that in. And what's happening here is after I save this, it's not going to store this information on my local device or in my browser. It's actually going to encrypt this information and store it in the central LDAP directory that the Unified Workspace is communicating with. So that way it's still, even this information is going to follow me around from device to device. So I'll click OK and that information will be saved and it will take me to Google Drive and automatically inject my username and password into that login page, hit the login button for me and log me in automatically. So again, it's important to stress that that WebPass browser extension is required to be installed in the end user's browser for that single sign-on process to actually take place because we're using the WebPass technology to do that. And I'll show you one more way to add access to a web-based application and configure my own single sign-on as an end user using that WebPass technology for any application that I might need to access. So I can simply just right-click anywhere on the workspace and click Add Tile to create my own personal tile. Type in a URL to the web application that I want to add. I'm going to add an application. It's just a simple web-based project management application called Trello. I'm going to just add it, and I'm just going to click Save. I'm going to ignore this Add a Password checkbox for right now. And you'll see it creates a new tile for me. And when I click on it, it's just going to bring me to that application, to that website. But now I want to configure it to automatically log me in. So since I have that browser extension installed that we talked about earlier, when I right-click on this tile, I get this option that says Manage Password. So when I click on that, we haven't configured the Unified Workspace to know how to perform single sign-on to this application. So that's the wizard we have to run now. So we'll click OK, and we'll launch that application, but we'll also launch this WebPass wizard to configure how we're going to do the login process. So it's asking us now, if this is not the login page, navigate to it now. So I can tell this is not the login page. There's no place to put in a username and password. So I'll click this login link here and hopefully that will bring me to one. Yep. So this is the login page for this application. So I'm there now, so I can click next in the wizard. Now it says click on the field where you type your username. So notice my cursor can hover over all the different elements on the page. So I just need to click one time on the field where I need to put my username. And then the wizard's asking me to do the same thing for where my password goes. And then finally, what button is used to trigger the login. So I'll just click one time on that login button. And what that did is it informed the WebPass wizard of all these different elements on the page so that it can perform all of the complicated scripting and all of the magic and the technology, if you will, on the back end as to how to actually do the single sign-on into this web app. So all of that's been done for me now. So now I can just enter the username that I want to use for this app to log me in automatically and my password and click continue. And I'll get a green checkbox that says that information was saved successfully. Very easy, straightforward process. And now we see that I have that tile like I had before, but now it has this nice blue key on it, which means that it's been configured for WebPass single sign-on. So now when I click on that application, it'll bring me to the login page and automatically inject my username and password that I've given it to log me in automatically to this app. So now I no longer need to go through that step of logging into the different applications. A huge benefit to end users when using the Unified Workspace. So we understand that not all applications that we need to access are web-based. There are a lot of instances where we need access from any device to a Windows-based application. And generally that's done through remote desktop clients, terminal services, or Citrix. All of those environments are great ways to deliver Windows applications to users, but they all require a client on the end user and often some additional configuration that the user is responsible to know how to get to that application. So what we have built into this unified workspace is a completely web-based RDP client that we call Web RDP, all based on HTML5, so it will work across all devices and browsers. And this tile right here, located in the test drive menu, demonstrates that. By using that HTML5 client to connect to a Windows server located in the data center that's running remote desktop services, it's creating that remote desktop session on that server. It's logging me in automatically because it already knows my Active Directory credentials. And in this case, we're launching Microsoft Word. So this is the full Windows version of Microsoft Word running in a remote desktop environment. So now I can use this Windows application just as I would normally use it on my own local device, but I'm doing it in a remote desktop session. So this could be an application that's only accessible from within my corporate network. So now I can have remote access to it from any device because again, this is an all-in HTML5 based client. When I close out this remote desktop app, notice the desktop is being suppressed, but we'll actually detect that and we'll automatically log the user out of that session and close the browser tab. So that's kind of an introduction to how our Web RDP technology works and how you can demo that to customers using the test drive menu and this remote app tile. Finally, the last feature that I want to talk about that's available here in Test Drive is our web storage. So web storage is a way to provide web-based access to file shares, whether those file shares are located in the cloud, like Google Drive or OneDrive, or if those file shares are located inside the data center, running on either FTP shares or standard NTFS Windows CIFS shares. So you can see here again, we're seeing a theme, right? I get this tutorial overlay popping up showing me a little bit about the interface. And I can again click that Don't Show Again checkbox to make that disappear. And here's the interface that I'm seeing. So all these different storage locations that have been assigned to me. The first one I want to bring your attention to is this orange one, the shared drive. So this is actually a Windows file share located inside the corporate data center. And now I can get anytime, anywhere access to that share just by using a web browser and logging into the Unified Workspace. So I can see the files here that are available to me. For this publicly accessible test drive environment, we've actually disabled edit rights and upload rights to this share so that it doesn't get bogged down by lots of different users accessing it. But in a production environment, I could upload files to this share. I could download files from this share. And email files and things like that. And all of those different capabilities can be controlled by IT. So for access to other types of file shares other than Windows shares that I need to access in my corporate environment, maybe I have files in Google Drive or OneDrive. So to access those, I can simply click on Google Drive, for instance. And the first time I do that, it's going to bring me to my Google account. If I'm not logged in already, it'll ask me to log into my Google account that I want to connect to the test drive environment. And it's going to prompt me to allow the test drive environment to have offline access to my Google Drive. So we're using Google's OAuth API to do this authentication on the back end. So the user does have to allow that the first time they want to add Google Drive to their web storage environment. And now you can see I have all of my Google Drive files are now appearing right here in my web storage interface. I can do the same thing with OneDrive, Dropbox, or Box, and we're going to be adding additional cloud storage providers in the future. So now that I have my Google Drive files available here, if they have this little Google Drive icon on them, that means they're actually Google Doc formats. So if I click on those, they're actually going to default to automatically opening up right in Google Docs. So I don't have to download that file locally. I can just keep it right in the Google ecosystem. Or I can also have the option of right-clicking on a file and downloading that file to my local device. I can upload new files to Google Drive from here, or I can even copy and paste to my Windows shared drive if I had upload rights. You can see if I try to paste here now, my access has been denied because in the test drive environment, we have restricted upload rights to this Windows file share. And that's a pretty high level overview of the test drive environment and the features that are available in it. We saw how we can access web-based applications with single sign-on using WebPass technology. We saw how we can access Windows applications from any device using our remote desktop client called WebRDP. And we saw how we can access internal or cloud-based file shares and storage environments using our unified web storage interface. Please don't hesitate to reach out to your Lenovo software support team for more information on Test Drive. We will always be adding more content to this environment and updating it over time so it always has the latest and greatest features for you to demonstrate to your customers. Please let us know if you have any other questions.